So, good morning to one and all. My today's talk is on power quality issues, energy storage system, and its applications for microgrid. In this session, I would try to cover about the basic aspects of microgrid at a glance and the power quality issues, some filtering techniques at a glance with some fundamental simulations, and energy storage system for microgrid application. Basically, this microgrid application is not new for us. Since we have started harnessing power from the renewable energy, this thing is not new. As of now, you are finding lots of installations of wind and solar across the India and across the globe also. We are having a certain rooftop applications of solar PV, as India is highly penetrated and blessed with good solar radiation. So the title is invited session, that is for one of the university of India, and this portion I am going to cover in this lockdown period. So let's begin. This is what the outline of the session. I'll start with the power generation scenario in India, little aspect of microgrid, its characteristic, advantages, importance, what are the typical components of microgrids are existing. Then we can have a classification of microgrid. Then there are certain power electronics incorporation of the same. I tried to simulate the things and make the concept easy. Then we have a architecture of microgrid and what is the role of power electronics in the microgrid, as the role of power electronics are incorporating in the grid. So there are certain issues of the power quality that has been occurring. As it occurs, there might be a pollution in the grid due to harmonics. So it has been explained in lots of literature, and I tried to demonstrate the same via simulation analysis, how to eliminate such harmonics, so using active and passive filter. Then very important concept, battery energy storage system, and another storage element, supercapacitor, its mathematical model, and then at last the application of battery storage and types of hybrid system, and then some concluding remarks and references. So if we can start with the current generation scenario in India, that is a power generation, we are having three sectors, that is central, state and private sector respectively. So the percentage contribution for the central sector is around half, that is 46.6%, and that to state sector is 28.5 and private sector is for 25.30. You may find updated data from the MNRE website. The source is given in this. Similarly, if we can talk about the average power per capita in India, so we are very lacking behind over here. In our case, let me use the laser pointers, we'll get the idea. We are at here, very below in percentage for average power per capita. But if we can talk about the population, then again there is a problem over here. We are having a very high population, that is in terms of percentage. So don't go with the data, but that is a contribution of Indian population compared to all the countries. If we can take a survey that was there 10 years back, we are having 22% of total population of the world and consuming only 2% of energy, and this creates the disparity. So certain new sources named as renewable power sources, and that is incorporated with the conventional sources, will have a generation of the concept of microgrid. So in ultimate case, microgrid might be a DC, might be a AC, might be a hybrid. In that case, we are trying to penetrate more and more renewable or non-conventional energy sources. Now if we can say that current state, the solar and wind are the proven technology. They are conventional in nature, but the input that has been given to those sources are renewables, that is wind and solar insolation respectively. So if we can talk about the contribution of renewable energy in India, we are having this 23.4% as of 18th of February 2020. As per MNRE website, on 31st it has been updated, and I tried to access this website on February 2020. So almost 23% of the total contribution in India are of renewable, and 12% is of hydro that has been considered as a renewable for small captive projects, particularly for mini and micro hydro. So our next is the how we can start with the microgrid. So a picture says 1,000 words. So from this GIF you can able to think about the microgrid. It means that you have a local load with you, you can have a own generated source with you, or you can have a distributed generating source at the last end of the transmission system. Usually to make this grid at local level are usually termed as a microgrid. But technically, microgrid is a group of interconnected loads and distributed energy sources within clearly defined electrical boundaries that acts as a single controllable entity with respect to grid, and that connects and disconnects from the grid to enable it and operate in both grid connected mode and the isolated mode. It means that if I can take this area, this can be worked individually also, and the grid connected mode also. Grid connected means the central grid. So in this case, if this micro grid will connect with the grid, then it is in grid type mode, and if it is not connected with any of the source or any of the grid, it is in the idling mode. So it is a combination of electrical system along with the conventional sources and the renewable sources, and which constituting a grid which feeds significant number of distributed loads. So we must know our load profile before designing such tiny sources that is available at the load end. There are some characteristics of the microgrid. A microgrid may be of many forms. If you have a peak electrical load, it is up to 100 megawatts starting from 1 kilowatt. You may find lots of 1 kilowatt rooftop installations in India. There might be a thermal load. Say for example, we can converting the solar insolation via mirrors, and we can store the thermal energy also. There might be a single customer to 50,000 number of customers that could be served. So So typical customers are all residential, commercial, or industrial people are using the rooftop of parking to install the photovoltaic modules. Some areas are served from the house top to the 10 square kilometer of large solar power plants. So there might be option of part-time microgrid may be configured between the island and non-islanding mode on the state of bulk power supply. There might be a full-time microgrid always operates independently for the bulk supply. Say for example, if we can talk about the photovoltaic and the wind. Now wind is available for 24/7, though it is intermittent in nature, but it is available. So in that case, there might be a full-time microgrid. Similarly, depending upon AC or DC supply, there might be a low voltage or high voltage architectures may be used in the microgrid applications. Some radial or network designed with one or more generators and possible microgrid architectures with their characteristics. Means in the case of load and the load profile, we will decide which generator will play a significant role. Say for example, if you have a load demand of 2 megawatt and from this 2 megawatt, 0.9 megawatt can be served by solar and 1.1 megawatt will be served by the other sources. So after having a late evening time, this 0.9 megawatt has to be served theoretically in this case because load pattern is changing by some other sources. So what are the general advantages of the microgrid? So it will provide a good solution in case of emergency and in case of shortage. So for example, a battery energy management system. So battery will act as a backup. There might be a plug-and-play function as a feature of switching to suitable mode of the operation, either grid-tied mode or isolated mode, or you can say islanded operation. There might be a fault in the grid. So at that time also, where wind generators or batteries can serve as a backup. The smallest islanding system that you may find at your home if you have an inverter with you. So whenever the electricity grid supply fail due to scheduled or unscheduled outage, at that time that battery operated system will play a significant role and working on the same in the islanding mode to resynchronize safely and connect it to the microgrid to the grid when the electricity again retrives. But at that time it will provide suitable voltage and frequency and all the protection aspect. The microgrid can independently operate without connecting to the main distribution grid during islanding mode. So all loads have to supplied and shared by distributed generations. These are the in general advantages of microgrid. So what are the importance of the microgrid? So it is an important part of the futuristic smart grid. In the case of reliability, the power quality to the customer. Now this power quality is not a new word. We all are expecting that we have a reliable power, good quality of the power. Good quality means a sinusoidal waveform in case of voltage. Some load, say for example, non-linear loads may pollute the sinusoidal nature of the electrical supply, and we are in the era of 21st century that we are highly crowded with the mobile phones, electronic gadgets, laptop, smartwatch, smart charger, electric vehicle, hybrid electrical vehicle, plugged-in vehicle, and so on. So the incorporation of power electronics plays a vital role in the futuristic smart grid as well as a microgrid. So a general microgrid consists of might be energy generators, energy storage, electrical load, interfacing between distributed sources and outside power main grid, and its interconnection and control mechanisms. So if we can discuss about the brief components of the grid. So first we'll start with the energy generator. It can be a renewable or non-renewable. As we have talked about the renewable, if you can define the renewable energy, in ultimate case it is the energy which is available throughout the day, or you can say it is renewable in nature. Say for example coal. I may contradict my statement. Coal is a renewable energy. Yes, my friends, coal is a renewable energy, but it is categorized as a non-renewable energy. So if you can define this source, renewable energy, it would be replenished back within one human life, known as renewable energy. So we have not categorized coal as a renewable energy. Likewise, we are having the fuel cells, wind power, PV, photovoltaics. I beg my pardon, over here PV is photovoltaics only, wind, water, tidal power, etc. Similarly, we are having the energy storage option. Typically, we are using the batteries, flywheel, supercapacitor, ultracapacitor. The use of energy storage is fruitful. Because of this several functionalities, it can balance the power generation and power demand in spite of load fluctuations and transient. Again, I will highlight the same example that I was highlighted about the islanding mode, that is our inverter and battery bank. In case of inverter at our home, when the power was not there, at that time the battery can handle those balance of power, power demand and load fluctuation and switching transient. So this is what the energy storage and its concept. Second particular importance of energy storage, it will allow fluent initial transitions when microgrid will connect or isolate from the grid. And third one, it will provide enough capability in case of intermittent energy sources such as wind generators. So it can develop the constant voltage profile, particularly that voltage profile is DC link voltage profile. The third aspect is the electrical load. So load can be of any nature, can be diverse sources including residential user, commercial user, drives. Depending upon the load, it could be prioritized as a critical load, less critical load or non-critical load. So different categories will fulfill its functionalities. Then we have interface unit between the generator and the grid. So through digital signal processing technology, the switches has to achieve a fast response. In current state of world, we are reached at the switching frequency of 50 kHz nowadays. So there might be an interconnection and control mechanism, that is microgrid are different from the bulk power grid due to their limited scale and hence have a specific requirement when it is connected with the grid. I have tried to develop one video and it is uploaded on YouTube, that how to design a solar power plant at a rooftop through only Excel sheet calculation. So able to know that how you can connect it with the, how you can connect this PV with the load. So that is interconnection, and it is also depending upon the control mechanism. Say for example, if you have an inverter with us, so at that time the current smart and hybrid inverter will decide from where means from which source you will take the power to drive the load. So ultimately the interconnection and control mechanism have their own control requirement among dynamic energy generators as well as the customers. So this is what the typical microgrid. So the control methods it will be used inside, it can be a central hierarchical control, it could be flexible, it might be a plug and play style without disturbing the rest of the system. It could be re-engineering or reconfiguring the whole system. That is what the basic idea of the various components of the microgrid. So in this diagram we are having the wind turbine, we have turbine connector, disconnector. Similarly we have PV inverter, photovoltaic array, we have a load, we have a battery, and we have a generator. So in this microgrid we are having the 4 sources. Am I communicating? We are having 4 sources. So each of them we have a turbine, inverter and controller, PV inverter and controller. It could be feed the AC load. Now if there is a requirement of the AC load, the power requirement is less, then through bidirectional converter, this bidirectional converter operates in the buck mode and it will charge the battery. Now if the load demand will rise, at that time the battery will act as a backup. In typical system nowadays, battery acts as a primary backup and the generator acts as a secondary backup. Say for example, people might be used the diesel generator in the ICUs, but in the stormy condition we will not able to get the diesel frequently, because nobody will allow to go outside. So at that time the battery or supercapacitor is a suitable option as a backup. So a simple illustration of our vision for the microgrid network and its control structure. We have two-way peer-to-peer power communication, we have communication connection, we have control instruction, we have buildings with the renewable generation, we have power grid, we have main domain, we have a data center from which we can able to know that how much power has been drawn and how much power it has been fed. So it might be a central server. So there might be a monitoring agent, policy agent, and interaction with the agent, which is more possible in these applications. So if you can classify the microgrid, it might be a DC microgrid, it might be AC microgrid, it might be AC-DC coupled microgrid. This is also known as the hybrid microgrid. So this is the concept or conceptual block diagram of DC microgrid. See guys, it is very simple, but it is yet complicated if you can design the control system behind this. But understanding part is very easy through this block diagram. We are having photovoltaic panel and we are having the wind turbine. The PV panel will generate the DC power directly and it has been fed to the DC bus. The wind turbine will generate AC power except DC generator based wind energy system, which is right now obsolete from the electricity market. So if you can take this AC system through rectifier, it is converting into DC, and this DC could be regulated with the converters, and it has been fitted with the common DC bus. Certain DC loads, say for example PC, electric vehicle, CFL bulbs, LED bulbs rather than that CFL bulbs, and the semiconductor based load that could be used on DC, and then through inverter we are injecting rest of the power into the grid. So this is the concept of the DC microgrid. This could be easily shown over here. We are having a grid, so we are having only one point where we are having the DC to AC conversion, we are having the PV panel, we are having, this is what the new technology currently used everywhere. There is a gearless option, that is gearless or geared. It might be a direct drive system of windmill that is available nowadays at the rooftop, and which is available up to 5 kilowatt installations. Then we are having a battery bank. So again, this all the three types of energy sources. In this case, PV panels DC in nature. This permanent bidirectional synchronous generator is AC, power generating source, and this is also a DC power generating source. Over here we need to accommodate AC to DC converters. Over here DC to DC converters, that is what we called as a chopper. Then we are having a DC to DC converter. So all the three sources, depending upon their availability, in the case of PV and wind, it will inject the power. That is a single arrow. In case of battery, there might be a charging and discharging of the battery. So this DC bus is a common. Then we are having a DC to DC converter, and we can have a DC load, say for example the charging of the hybrid vehicle. Then we are having a supercapacitor, like another backup source. So again there is a bidirectional. Again there is a grid. Again it's a bidirectional. When you need to charge the vehicle, at that time there's 1, 2 and 3. All three are not available. At that time the grid will provide the sufficient amount of power, but the probability is very less. This is the conceptual block diagram of AC microgrid. Again we are having the PV array, we are having the inverters that was not there in the previous diagram, and we are having the active and reactive power control, voltage and frequency control at all the aspects, and then we can maintain the energy chain. We can have these various AC loads that we can drive, and then at point of common coupling through transformer we are having main microgrid that is to be connected with the major grid of the nation. So in case of hybrid microgrid, we are having both the buses, the AC bus and DC bus. So we are having the AC bus, the wind turbine, usually AC to DC and DC to AC, and we have a distributed network, then battery, then AC load. In other case there might be a DC bus, so we can connect the DC load. So over here the DC load might be diverted, and the stage of the inverter is not available over here, so the overall efficiency of the system is increased. So our next topic is about the power electronics in the microgrid with simulation analysis. So if we can talk about the microgrid, this is in simulation. This is a simulation of photovoltaic module that is connected with the DC load using boost converter. So in this case, this diagram considering the DC load is comprising of 4 sections. The first section is the generator section, second section is the algorithm and the sensor section, third section is the converter, DC to DC converter, boost converter section, the fourth section is the load section. So to develop this model, one should go for this inductor and the capacitor's value can be easily computed using these equations. So if you can test this system for standard test condition for photovoltaic, that is 1000 watt per meter square radiation and 25 degrees centigrade temperature, there might be a case of the result for 15 ohm resistance. See, the voltage has been boosted. This is what the tracking efficiency of solar module. This is what the power has been delivered to the load, and these are the various amount of pulses. Similarly, if you can decrease the load by turning off some load, again the power has been shared to the DC load. Again, if you can increase the power will be increased, but the boosting effect will be decreased. So it's a fundamental applications of the microgrid. Again, at 5 ohm, still our load has been increased, and at 3.29 ohm, you can say roughly 3.5 ohm, you will get certain amount of power. At that time, your boosting effect will be almost 0. So from this simulation I would try to share the thought of the load profile. You must know what you want to run from this solar photovoltaic system, and likewise in microgrid, that is load profile. Similarly, if you can change the radiation level from the input side, then also this is what the tracking efficiency. Now likewise with the temperature, that has to be increased from 25 degree to 40 degree. Again there might be a change in power. So same way this analysis can be done. So if you can compare the same thing with MPPT, that is maximum power point tracking, you will find lots of literature and videos on the YouTube on this. So if you can compare this thing with and without MPPT, so this is without MPPT, our energy is not maximized. This 250 watt panel will generate around 70 watt of power, and if you will maximize it, it will generate around 200 watt of power, depending upon the requirement of the load. So this is an example of small DC microgrid. I can say smallest DC microgrid with its control aspect. So this is what the architecture of the microgrid. So in the case of microgrid architecture, our main outcome is incorporation of power converters, and it results of the harmonics and power quality issues due to non-linear loads. Now in case of architecture, this non-linear loads is you can say hero. In the case, I can say villain, but over here they are the majority of harmonic generators. So this is our main utility grid. We are having energy storage option, we are having a load option, we are having a distributed generator 1, 2, 3, 4. It may be wind, it may be solar, it may be diesel generator, anything. That's what you have. Say for example, if it is DG2, it might be solar. It will converting this DC into AC. It might be energy storage, it might be a wind in this case. So everywhere our load is highly non-linear. In day-to-day life, we are having a storage system, we are having a power electronic converter, and accordingly the value might be changed. So what are the different kind of architecture that are having in the microgrid? So we are having a changeover switches, on grid, off grid, isolations, fossil fuel power production, solar PV, emergency generator side. These all are the incorporation in the single grid. It means that you need to control the power from that. You require the power electronic switches, say for example inverter, converter, buck, boost, chargers, etc. So in that case our grid is highly non-linear, and accordingly your harmonics, that is injection in the system due to non-linear load, is increased. So these are the commonly found power quality issues. I would try to make it simple. The sag, that is RMS decrement in the voltage for few cycles, with the transition event such as starting of the large motor. So when the large motors are connected to the grid, the swell, it could be caused by system faults, load switching, and particularly the switching of the capacity. So your voltage will be rise. So a sudden disconnection of the electricity causes the interruption. Again, there is a big power quality issue. It can be opening of a circuit breaker, line recloser, or a fuse. The next power quality issue is on a very much, you can say, famous power quality issue, that is what we call as a transient. It can be a momentarily high frequency sub-cycle event, usually measures in the microsecond. These are the different transient. It might be a spike, surge, or impulse. Notching, oscillatory, all are transient. Usually the switching transient plays a big problem in the power quality issue. It might be due to upstream capacitor switching. This is what the waveform of the upstream capacitor switching. I have taken from one of the experts' PowerPoint presentation to make this understanding simple. And again, our line values are up to its original per unit RMS value. Similarly, transient have some causes and effects. Some possible causes are power factor cap energization, so capacitor energization, lightning surges. It might be due to loose connection or chattering. There might be load or source switching. So for example, if 20 kilowatt induction motor connected with the grid, then nothing happened with the grid. But such 20 kilowatt induction motor across a particular industrial sector which is connected with the grid, there might be a so transient, that is what we call a switching transient, that could be caused. And such renewable energy sources could be withstand this transient without tripping themselves. Some possible effects are data corruption. There might be a mismanagement of data, equipment damage, data transmission errors, intermittent operation. There might be a reduction in the equipment life, and irreproducible problems. We cannot have a same problem at all the time. It might be different because there might be a different permutations and combinations of the motor switching. So some sources of power quality problems, they are power electronic devices, that is what the chargers for IT and office equipments. We are having a lots of computers. Some arcing devices are there, load switching, large motor starting, some embedded generation, a voltage sensitive equipment, other strong and environmental related damage are the sources of power quality problem. This thing is known to you, so I am not focusing it on this thing more. Our next concept is the power frequency variation. So ultimately it's a deviation of the power from its fundamental frequency. In India it's 50 Hz, so this frequency is directly related to the rotational speed of the generator because it is 120 F by P, and the amount of frequency shift, and this duration depending upon the load characteristic of the generator control system to the load variation. So power frequency variation, when certain generator will run fast, say for example wind generator at high wind speed. In similar way, there might be a causes. What is the cause of the power frequency variation? There might be faults on the transmission system, disconnection of the large load, means generator will start generating with the higher speed before the governing action will be taken care of it, and which is not that much possible in distributed generation because the generator is in distribution size. There might be a disconnection of large generator also. So these are the major causes of the power frequency variation. If you need to explore further on this, you may refer on any power quality book. Well, next is the very renowned harmonics. It's a periodic wave having a frequency that is integer multiple of the fundamental frequency, and in power system the third and fifth harmonic serves the biggest problem in the day-to-day life. The examples that will be incorporated in the harmonics. It includes industrial equipments, variable drive, UPS, office equipment, household appliances, etc. So you get all the things with you without interruption of the grid. So whenever we are talking about the incorporation of harmonics, so at that time in the microgrid these issues are obvious. So I tried to develop the small simulation, small experiment in software, and that to test it for hardware. What we have tried to do is we are having a 315 volt source. It has been stepped down, and for this 2 ohm resistance in series, we try to measure the voltage and current T at T because of non-linear load as a diode. Means we are using a diode as a non-linear load. It's a simple single wave rectifier, or we can say full wave single phase rectifier in this case. So this is my supply voltage, this supply voltage to the rectifier, that is Vs, secondary side of this voltage. So in ultimate case this is my current and this is my current T at T, and these are the magnitude of the harmonics, current harmonics. We tried to analyze the same thing, but as the current harmonics means load that has been fed by the sinusoidal supply, but later on if it is in the bulk power, means every day we are going at our home and charging our mobile phones and laptop, so there might be a very enriched harmonic atmosphere in the grid, or we can say very enriched harmonic environment in the grid, and grid is polluted. So if you can consider the 4 cycles, these are having some current and some voltages. So at that time this is our FFT analysis, and this is our output voltage. Similarly we have done in the laboratory prototype. We are having a auto transformer, some bridge rectifier as a non-linear load, electronic load R type, some multimeter and the function, and this is for the source current. See how it is polluted. Similarly this is the FFT of the source current. So there are some harmonic and its relation and its impact on the microgrid because of all the non-linear loads as we have mentioned. It's a lethal effect in the microgrid in the bulk power system. Therefore the study of harmonics in context of microgrid is very necessary. Now some more power quality issues are there in the microgrid. The first is imbalance of power. So it occurs whenever there is a transition from the grid side mode to isolated modes, means switching from grid tied to isolated and vice versa. In the different micro power stations connected to the microgrid supplies of power in the grid. As these power stations have slow dynamic response, energy storage devices are used to maintain the power balance. Similarly, second is the low voltage stability. In the distributed generation in microgrid, the power distribution support is lower as compared to large grid. Therefore, the voltage stability occurs. So the controlling of DG and microgrid is done through power converters, and the power transfer is limited in this converter in comparison to a regular power trans. Say for example, during high power demand, the condition in grid and this converter provides less support than regular power plant, creates the low voltage stability. Say for example, wind. If the large load is connected with the wind, at that time if the stable wind is not there, then there might be a big issue on the voltage stability. By considering the voltage stability, we are having a problem of sag and swell. So these are the major power quality issues, particularly in AC microgrid. Talking about the issues in DC microgrid, due to some extent, the DC microgrid is more beneficial for local loads, say for example LED lamps, charger, vehicle chargers, etc. But for the high power, it might be a better option to use a AC microgrid. In the first case, we are having the voltage transient. So voltage transients frequently occur in AC microgrid, but it affects in the DC microgrid the same way. Say for example, the main cause of voltage transient is the incorporation and turning on and off of the capacitor tanks. For the automatic power factor controller devices, it might be a starting up and shutting down the distributed generation. Say for example, if we connect our grid with the main grid and we need to turn off one DG, at that time there might be a surge effect of the voltage transient. In similar way, there might be a harmonics in DC grid, though it is challenging because we are using a many PWM based DC to DC converter, and DC load with the capacitors are connected in both sides of the converter. Then we have inverse current of the transformer and the fault current. In case of fault current particularly, we can say a large wind turbines are connected with the grid. So they all are LVRT, that is low voltage ride through, or FRT, that is fault ride through capable. So how we can mitigate these harmonics? So we are having a two particular filter, that is shunt filter and series filter. If it is current related issues, then in general we are having a passive filter and active filter. So we are having shunt and series active filter, and for voltage related issues we are having distributed statecom, that is D-statecom or distribution statecom, and DVR, that is dynamic voltage distortion. So what are the voltage harmonic distortion limit at the bus voltage and the various range of the bus voltage? So at PCC, this much limit, that is what the standards are saying, and when the IEEE 519/2014 are used as per guideline within the facility, the rules for the grid harmonic injection is very strict. So people are accommodating the harmonic current mitigation, and it is estimated that 70% of the loading of facility will be due to the nonlinear loads. And those who know this harmonic, we have a very common equation, kq plus or minus 1, where k is any positive integer and q is the number of pulse for the power conversion equipment, which is the number, a pulse number. Suppose we have a 12 pulse converter and our positive integer is 1, so n equals to 1 into 12 plus or minus 1, so 13 and 11. So from this 12 pulse converter, 11th and 13th harmonic is most severe, and that has been significant frequency generators. So this is what the simulation of 12 pulse converter and its output voltage. We are also using the harmonic current cancellation using configuration of 6/6 transformer to eliminate the triplet harmonics from the power system. This issue is very common for electrical power system. So these harmonics are trapped. Similarly, cancellation of 5th and 7th harmonics using this 30-degree phase shift. So over here, if you have a drive, we are having the star, delta and star star transformer. So this is what we have done over here, star star and star delta. So we can say that 1 1, that is unity turns ratio, over here 1 and over here root 3 times. So the voltage over here is root 3 times. And in ultimate case, that 5th harmonic and 7th harmonics are cancelled at the common bus, and we are having the good quality of the power. So talking about the harmonic filters, in our next segment we are having the passive filter and active filter in particular way. For passive filter, we are designing an inductor and a capacitor tank circuit for elimination of the particular number of harmonics. Then we have a shunt active filter. We are generating the compensating current at the point of common coupling. And the harmonic mitigation. The active filters are also used for the improvement in the harmonic mitigation, but there is a problem of voltage regulation can be compensated by exchanging the reactive power with the system. And for the another series connected devices are series active power filter. So these are the harmonic current source, and we can design L and C such that at this resonant frequency your impedance will be minimum, and that harmonic current source will be rotating. This harmonic current will be rotating into this circuit, and your supply will be sinusoidal. This is also known as series tuned circuit and the filter frequency response. Similarly, this is the block diagram of active filter. So this active filter will generate the compensating current to make the source current sinusoidal, particularly when the non-linear loads such as computers and the adjustable speed drives connected with the motor. So this is how it works. There are two non-linear loads, one linear loads are connected. In the previous example it was non-linear load. So over here one battery through converter, it will generate the compensating current at the point of common coupling and make this supply current sinusoidal. So the current harmonics in the local distribution system significantly distort the voltage of the line. So you may refer the first reference of the book, which is available online by Springer, authored by Dr. R.B. Jadeja sir, a dean, Marwari University, Saurashtra, Gujarat, and the co-authors. So you are able to know that how this thing would be responsive. You need to model it. In this lecture, I have not considered any model of this active filter. It might be some different section if you need to model the active filter. So a particular advantage of the active filters are it can respond to the change in load harmonic condition, whereas the passive filters are fixed for that particular harmonic response. The application of passive filter requires careful analysis, and active filter have no serious ill effect associated with them. So the main problem is active filters are expensive and not suitable for small application in terms of power. So the next filter is the series filter. So whenever we are talking about the series filter, many times fractional of non-linear load such as SMPS, LED that is to be connected, and the current will remain the sinusoidal. So it's been used to reduce the negative sequence voltage and regulate the voltage in the three-phase system. So it can be installed by electric utilities and compensating for the voltage harmonics as a whole. It can also damp out the harmonic propagation caused by the resonance at the resonant frequency with the line impedance and passive shunt compensators. So the third portion of the session is the BESS, that is Battery Energy Storage System. So this technology is used when the backup is needed. So that might be a certain battery energy storage system. It might be a pump storage, it might be a compressed air energy storage, it might be a flywheel, it might be a superconducting magnetic energy storage, it might be a supercapacitor, it might be a battery itself. So these are the classification of the storage system in terms of mechanical, electromechanical, electrical, and the thermal. where we have pumped hydro, flywheel, compressed air, primary batteries, secondary batteries. Usually primary batteries are not used because once it is used, it can be not reusable. So the next option is the flow batteries, the redox flow and the hybrid flow, the chemical. The fuel cell, it might be a renowned renewable technology. The batteries are having high density which is used. So you can start with the lead acid battery. So approximately 70% of the lead acid batteries are used by considering the depth of discharge around 70 to 80%. In second case, we have a lithium ion batteries. IBM is currently working with a project called Battery 500. The objective is to develop the lithium ion battery could store enough energy to power the vehicles for 500 miles. Then with high density, we have a redox flow battery and sodium battery. It is about 250 megawatt the installed capacity of sodium battery with the high power density and the lifetime usually over the 10 years. That is to be considered. So if you can take the comparative aspect of all types of energy storage system, in ultimate case we are having a lithium ion lead acid battery that has more number of cycles. But in current state we are also considering the supercapacitors instead of battery. Instead of LC tank we are having superconducting magnetic energy storage, that is SMES, because its response time is very fast compared to the conventional batteries. There are some advantages and disadvantages of the technology as a whole. So we are having the supercapacitor with high power density, the quick response, but there are some disadvantages of the low energy density. In the case of energy, watt hour is low and it is expensive. So from this table we might be able to know that what are the comparative aspect of the battery storage system. From this storage system I tried to inculcate the concept of the supercapacitor through small mathematical model. So this is the equivalent electrical circuit of supercapacitor, where we are having the series resistance, commonly called the equivalent series resistance, and the main contributor to the power loss in the case of charging and discharging of the capacitor. So if you can model this thing, while charging of the same, our UT, this UT equals to UC plus I into RS. So in terms of UC, if you can say that UC by dt equals to change in current, I minus I1 upon C, where I is the current drawn by the load and I1 is the leakage current, which means that your I1 is UC upon RL. You can substitute this with I1 with equation 2, or equation 3 will result by duc by dt equals to 1 minus UC I minus UC upon RL divided by C. So what is the outcome of the same? So whenever we are having the U0 and UI, that is output and input, there might be a converter that is useful in between these two, means supercapacitor or any storage with the conventional system. It might be a bidirectional converter. So some application of energy storage. Its application, say for example, it will maintain the DC link voltage of any converter if the battery is connected as a backup system for a particular source. It is also similar to the black start process. It means that it's a process in the electrical power station or a part of electric grid operation without relying in external electrical transmission network to recover from the total or partial shutdown. So this is one of the application of battery. In this system, if we need to try, it's an isolated system, the grid is not there. If we are having the AC load to run, we require the controlled inverter, but we have multiple options. A wind turbine that is connected with the permanent magnet synchronous generator. It is connected with the uncontrolled rectifier because of the small system. One may use the controlled rectifier also. Over here, the gearbox is also used. Then we have a DC to DC MPPT, that is maximum power point tracking based converter, and it is fitted with the DC load. Then a photovoltaic system and DC to DC conversion for MPPT based for photovoltaic, and again the power has been clubbed at the DC bus. And now there is the role of battery bank. This battery bank will maintain the reference voltage of DC bus. Now how to choose the reference? Suppose if I want 230 volt single phase supply, I shall select 230 into root 2, that is 325. Now this battery bank, if it is in discharging mode, it will try to maintain 325. It will also maintain a charging mode also. But this reference voltage will forcefully operate these two generators at that voltage by maintaining this DC voltage constant, that is the input voltage for the inverter. In modern system, the DC voltages are around 600 volt DC. Similarly, this I have taken from one of the paper. If you can incorporate this fuel cell, electrolyzer and the battery, this is the bidirectional DC to DC converter. This is the combination of PMSC fuel cell converters, buck converter. This is one of the very good paper of Sukumar Misra sir. And over here we are having the PW inverter, and it is connected with the local standalone loads. So in this case, the battery will regulate the DC link voltages. So there are certain types of hybrid system. So if we can incorporate the renewable sources, we are having the wind turbine, AC to DC, PV array, DC to DC. So at DC bus, the voltage will be regulated within the specific limit. Then our DC load can serve using DC to DC converters. Next segment, we are having the plugged in hybrid electric vehicles or plugged hybrid vehicles. So again, the DC to DC converter is a bidirectional flow for peer-to-peer power transmission. Similarly, we are having energy storage system, battery and capacitor, and then that is interfaced with the main grid. So it is the major hybrid system can be treated as a microgrid with the incorporation of power electronic component and the filter circuit. The filter circuit is not present. If you can open these models in the MATLAB or PCM environment, you will definitely able to know that what are the filter capacities for the same. This is the DC based hybrid system for small remote community. So we are having the wind turbine. This figure is already covered in the initial part, but it was simple DC load. Over here we are having the PV charge controller, turbine controller, we have a DC source center, we have a battery bank, we have a DC load, we have an inverter. So that's a bidirectional. Generator, it might be a optional or it can be treated as a backup power. Similarly, we are having the AC based hybrid system. In AC based, we are having, this thing is not shown over here, sorry for this. It is bidirectional converter. We are having a generator over here, the battery bank, individual inverter and controller are used for photovoltaic system and the system. So with this, I just want to conclude this session by considering the various aspects of hybrid systems, incorporation of power electronics of such systems in microgrid applications. These are the some references. I've used more than 50 references for preparing this presentation. This is what I was talked about the book chapter. from the harmonic materials that has been taken. So thank you very much for your precious time. So apart from that, the energy saving is also important. So save energy for the better future. So thank you very much. Thanks for giving an opportunity to deliver a talk.